Welcome to Module 3 for co-teaching. This module will focus on the models of co-teaching. As co-teachers plan together, there are 6 possible approaches that they could use for instruction. The model chosen should depend on student characteristics and needs, teacher characteristics and needs, curriculum content and instructional strategies, and the environment. To keep co-teaching relationships and instructional arrangements fresh and effective, teachers should consider trying several of the approaches and altering their co-teaching methods regularly. When considering student characteristics and needs, the first considerations in thinking about co-teaching approaches are student characteristics and needs. For example, if students tend to become disruptive during transitions, an approach should be selective that minimizes transitions. Conversely, if students need extra motivation, an approach with frequent changes might be preferred. When considering teacher characteristics and needs, co-teaching will be different in different classrooms and at different times of the school year based on teacher characteristics and needs. For example, if co-teachers vary significantly in their teaching styles, it might be best to select approaches that enable them to teach independently. Alternatively, if co-teachers work easily together, a more shared approach might be appropriate. The content to be taught and the instructional strategies that are most effective for addressing the content are additional considerations in selecting co-teaching approaches. Highly structured content and procedures, such as teaching steps in a process, would require one approach, while less structured content, such as discussion of ideas, might suggest another approach. The preference for co-teaching approaches should also be tempered by the pragmatics of the setting. For example, in an open school, noise is a consideration in selecting an approach. In a crowded classroom, an approach not particularly dependent on space might be the best choice. As we review the 6 models of co-teaching in the next slides, try to make note of these 4 items as we go through: the role of the general education teacher, the role of the special education teacher, the room arrangement, and content implications. These are the 6 models of co-teaching: station teaching, parallel teaching, alternative teaching, team teaching, one teach, one observe, and one teach, one assist. As teachers begin to establish co-teaching relationships, they generally tend to start with approaches that involve less coordination between team members. For example, one teach, one assist, or observe, and parallel teaching. Gradually, as co-teaching skills and relationships begin to strengthen, teachers begin to incorporate more approaches based on students' needs and instructional content requirement. The successful implementation of co-teaching is going to require time, coordination, and of course trust. So as we are going through the next so we're going to show you some videos of the models being implemented. I want you to reflect on which model you most preferred and why, and which model do you least prefer and why. And then also, as you're going through, take out maybe like a scratch sheet of paper and do some sketches of how you might arrange the classroom within your co-taught environment to adjust to each model. With station teaching, teachers divide content and students. Each teacher then teaches the content to one group and subsequently repeats the instruction for the other group. If appropriate, a third station could give students an opportunity to work independently, but only if appropriate. The ideal percentage of time to use this approach is approximately 30 to 40% of the time.
Pretty much everybody's already grouped. Remember, I will tell you when you have about 3 minutes left, that way you can wind down what you're doing, where your activities are. Okay, and guys, I'm going to go ahead and get this started for you just so y'all remember if you're having problems. Just let me know. Alright, guys, what we're going to talk about is what?
You're going to get ready to
organizing your research, okay? Whenever you organize research, what are some of the things you got to ask questions?
Make sure that the information that you are collecting is valid. What does that mean?
Remember the note sheets that we put together to show you how to organize your information?
Okay?
It's
to the point where you can use that information.
Now, somebody tell me, why is it reliable? Every topic that you're going to be
good, excellent, referencing when you look through your sources. When you look through your sources, what sources are we going to be looking through when we start collecting information from our paper? Books, internet, what else? magazines, journal articles. So we're going to ask one question working on it, and it's current. Okay? All right.
Would you really go into total depth about Hitler right during your introductory? Very good, because what do you still want to do with people in your introduction? You still want to hook them. Tell what your paper, it's going to give your audience an opportunity to see, what am I getting ready to read? So with that, does your thesis statement have to follow the organizational pattern of the rest of your paper? Yes. All right, so now if you look and you flip over through your notes pages, guys, what did we say, like, this concentration camp start? Why did it start? Okay? What was it like in there? That's exactly right. Who organized it, right? Okay, because you wouldn't tell me that, say, 34,000 people died at this particular, whenever you go through your research and you start collecting your data for your research, you're going to be able to use the books that we have up front, you're going to be on the internet, you're going to use encyclopedias to find it. How are you going to take all of this information and how are you going to lay it out through your paper? What's going to be the best way? Very good. So, Molly, would you take, say, ready to change? Swap out group 1A and B. If y'all will swap stations. Guys, remember, don't run over.
I'm going to move this here. This is extra. Make sure you put this in your notes. Okay? And make sure you put this in your notes.
That's what yes. All right, Miss Simpson, if you're ready.
We're ready.
All right, group 2, A and B, if you will swap. All right, it's already on there. There you go. Just double click. Just do this. Okay. Very good.
You need a seat. I'm going to let you have this one right here. I use my stuff over here, so we don't have to pull that out.
All right, guys. Y'all just got to talk about what? Evaluating. Tell me what you want to do. What you just been talking about?
Organizing. Organizing what? Organizing your research paper. How did you organize it?
Right. How do you know the website's reliable?
So the video you just watched was on station teaching, which is when each station has a skill that teachers teach to one group and then repeat the instruction for the other group, and the groups rotate throughout the teachers. You'll notice in the video we just watched, they also had a station for independent work. You want to use this for content that is complex but not necessarily sequential. Lessons that contain plan instruction as a review are also good, and several topics that make up a lesson. When you have that situation, it's a good time to use station teaching. Planning time for station teaching is a medium. The next model we'll discuss is parallel teaching. So on occasion, students' learning may be greatly facilitated if they just had a little more supervision by the teacher or had more opportunity to respond. With parallel teaching, the teachers are both teaching the same information, but they divide the class group and do so simultaneously. The ideal percentage of time for using parallel teaching is about 30 to 40% of the time.
Get out page 167, part A. But what was the question? What are we trying to do with the singular world back there? What are we trying to do? How do you make them agree? How do you make them agree? We said singular subjects have to take what kind of verbs? Takes a plural verb. So which verb are we going to use? Is or are? Are. Good.
Okay, very good. Okay. Number 2.
All right, number 2. Neither the players nor the coach feels or feel ready for this game. What is our subject?
Players and coach. Either the players or the coach feels or feel ready for
What's
the
our
game?
connecting word?
More subjects. Okay, players.
So is it going to
Okay,
be
I agree with the
coach?
subject. The coach feels ready for the game.
What does it say on the sheet? What's the rule? Over here, compound subjects. When you have parts of a compound subject joined by or nor,
The verb should agree with the part closest to it.
so you want to look at the subject closest.
Number 6, either the students or the teacher is or are expected to be at the meeting. How many say is? How many say are? Okay. The teacher are expected to be at the meeting? The teacher are expected to be at the meeting? No, the teacher what? Is expected to be at the meeting. You have to look at the subject closest to the what? The verb. Okay? Number 6. Alright. Neither the council members nor the mayor is or are present. Is. Why is it is? What is our...
So parallel teaching occurs when co-designed instruction is given to two groups by two teachers. Parallel teaching lowers the student-to-teacher ratio. You would want to use parallel teaching when you want to lower the student-to-teacher ratio, when you want to foster participation from the students, when you need to drill and practice, review information, or need to reteach information. And this requires a medium amount of planning time. Thank you for participating in this module. The next module will address the additional models for co-teaching.